hear from so many members, members across so many industries, across geographies, across many countries. It really makes me think about the importance of solidarity. So we know we're facing big challenges, but we don't know, we know that we are not alone, that this is why I'm going to be very proud to know that we're holding this Solidarity Summit to meet some amazing women who are leading the fight. Please help me welcome April Verrett, the President of the International SEIU, and then President of the National Domestic Worker Alliance, an organization and organizations that works to win respect, recognition, and labor rights for those who do the essential work of caring for our loved ones in our homes, Ai-jen Poo. And finally, President of the AFL-CIO, a federation of 60 national and international labor unions that represents more than 12.5 million working people, Liz Shuler. So let's give it up to this incredible, amazing panel.
This is the view from
Are
here.
you? So our first question is going to be, I'm going to ask you, Ai-jen, to just begin this conversation. We know that 9 in 10 workers don't have a union. What at least 6 in 10 workers say they want a union. So what kind of labor movement do we need to do together to empower more workers? So let's start with you, Ai-jen.
Well, first of all, on behalf of all of the members of the National Domestic Workers Alliance, thank you for having us here. We're so proud to stand with you. And I want to say that actually, this union,
our union,
knows exactly what to do to support and lift up non-union workers, because you have been lifting up domestic workers from the time that we started organizing. From the time that Mary Kay took over leadership of SEIU, Mary Kay Henry proactively took every opportunity she could to lift up domestic workers. Hector Figueroa from 32BJ went to the mat to make sure.
Of course.
32! Went to the mat to make sure that domestic workers were not excluded from paid sick days in New York. And there's so many more locals, $11.99 for...
Wait till these guys get started.
2015. Okay. There's more. There's more. 775. HCII. And I could go on and on and on. So I want to say that this union knows exactly how we're going to organize 1 million new members into this union.
Thank you, Ai-jen. So the same question, Liz, you want to answer, like, how do we, the labor movement, we build more power for workers?
Absolutely, and good morning, SEIU. And Ai-jen just shouted out all the unions, in the care sector, of course, but I would just say I'm so honored to be here on behalf of the AFL-CIO, 60 unions, 12.5 million workers who are fighting alongside you to make change, and this leadership team that you just elected. I am so proud I was here to witness the historic election of April Verrett, Rocio Sa, the officers, and thank you, Mary Kay, as well. What an incredible, historic moment for us to be in partnership with each other. And in terms of organizing and growing, I would just say two things. I think we need to innovate and try new things and be bold and not be afraid to fail. And I think sometimes in the labor movement, we often think if we don't win, that we can't talk about it. And so I think this is the time that we actually need to look at the gig economy, look at domestic workers, agricultural workers, folks who've been excluded from labor law in the past, who've been left on the sidelines. We need to bring them to the center and innovate a new model going forward. And the second thing is just taking advantage of all of this energy and momentum we're seeing across the country, workers taking risks in places like the South, where people said it could never be done.
That's right.
On the heels of victories at Volkswagen with the UAW and Bluebird workers in the state of Georgia, black and brown workers who said, no, we are sick of this Jim Crow construct in the South. We are fighting back. And building a movement, as we said 2 years ago in Philadelphia, right here at the AFL-CIO convention, a movement to meet the moment, because we're not going to have this opportunity for forever. And so we need to be urgent, we need to be inclusive and open and innovative.
Thank you, Liz. April.
I couldn't agree more with what both Ai-jen and Liz said. And I think the innovating on new models, right? The 103 years that SEIU has been in existence has been incredible. And we are still playing by the same playbook. So let's get a new playbook that actually suits this economy and suits workers of today. And how we collaborate across our organization. So proud of the partnership with NDWA and ready to roll up our sleeves and figure out how do we build big, bold, ambitious campaigns. Let's hit the streets, let's do the work. Let's figure out how our entire labor movement gets behind care workers. How does our entire labor movement figure out how we take down DaVita? How does the entire labor movement get together and go after American Airlines, right? And so it takes bold campaigning, like at Amazon, like we've done at Starbucks, right? We couldn't have had our Starbucks victory without affiliates of the AFL showing up for those baristas. And so we need more of that. We need more of wearing our colors together in solidarity, and not just getting in our boxes of we're SEIU or we're NDWA or we're AFL. It's going to take a movement of all of us together to change the game that workers need us to. And we're going to the South, and we're going to the South together.
That's right.
I see you, Roxy.
So the next question, I'm going to start with you, Liz, because I know the AFL last year, you did a poll that showed that 88% of young workers support unions. So what can we all do differently to engage young workers in the labor movement and get much more like part of our bigger, broader family? So let's start with you, and then I want the two of you to answer that question too.
Thank you so much, Rocio. And we've seen how this economy is not working for young people. There's a lot of precarity, there's insecurity, costs are going up for not only just being able to buy food and have security for your family, but housing has become so unaffordable. People are working hours from where they live because they can't afford to live in the cities where they work. We're seeing debt accumulating, student debt in particular for young people, right? The list goes on and on. So finally, young people are seeing that the labor movement is the place where they can make the change that they so desperately need and want. And this notion of coming together collectively to build power versus struggling individually, I think young people are rediscovering what a union actually is, what it means. And the fact that we are building this multiracial, inclusive movement that brings everybody in, that we are fighting for the things that they want to see and to create a better life for everyone, and that it's possible. So we're providing hope, frankly, to this next generation, and they see themselves finally in the labor movement. And that statistic you cited, 9 in 10 young people under the age of 30 supports unions. When have we been in a moment like this? But we need to meet them where they are, as they say. We need to organize in new ways. We need to speak to the issues they care about. And frankly, like Starbucks and the successful campaign Y'all Have Waged, we need to listen. We need to listen. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right? We need to listen to what it is that they need and build our agenda and approach to resonate and really work for the people of this next generation.
Yeah, thank you, Liz. Ai-jen, you want to just share your thoughts?
I would just build off of that by saying that it's clear young people want to join unions, and we have to make it really easy for them to understand how to do that, what that means, and to make our organizations, our institutions, and our cultures porous enough, welcoming enough, engaging enough that they actually want to do it, and it's super easy for them to do it. And so everything that Liz said, meeting them where they are, but then making sure that our organizations are reflective of places where they can easily join and stay.
That's right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would double click on what Liz and Ai-jen said and add to it. We have to really give young people a voice, a real voice, and real power at decision-making tables. Oftentimes, our approach to trying to figure out how to get young folks engaged is to segregate them and give them their own thing. There's only one labor movement, right? Only one union movement. It's not a young people's labor movement or young people's union. So how are we creating a union that is multi-generational, that creates space, as Ai-jen talked about, for younger people, where they have a stake in the whole, and they have the ability to exercise power and have agency and make decisions, not in a way that tells older folks step aside, but it's how are we doing it together? Because it is the wisdom, right? It's the wisdom of those who have been around and the innovative thinking and fresh approaches and energy of younger people. I believe that there is power in that. And that's what we gotta leverage.
Can I add?
Yeah, of course.
In hearing you, I just wanted to add one more thing, because we in the labor movement are built around a seniority system. And I think often that mentality that we've been so conditioned for holds us back in terms of engaging young people. Because I can tell you, I've been to local union halls across this country where, you know, seasoned, shall we say, young at heart, I'm not gonna say old, older members say they need to be around. They need to come to a union meeting for, you know, a few years before they stand up and speak. Or, well, they can't leave that phone bank because they haven't been here for 5 years. We need to get rid of that thinking.
Right.
We need to bring them in now. They are leading. It's just a matter of, are we embracing that? And so I think about the example real quick of the minimum wage debate in San Jose years ago, where the labor movement said, you know, this isn't the right time. And the young people got together with the kids on campus at San Jose State, and they said, it is absolutely time, and we're gonna lead this. Yeah. And so then they put pressure on the labor movement to come into the fold. So this is happening, and I think, to your point, we need to make our environment and our approach more welcoming and really reflective of the urgency of young workers.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I just have to take a minute to talk about how incredible it is to have the leadership of these three women in the labor movement.
And
our partners.
And the fourth.
Yes.
That's right.
But how can you not have hope? Just sitting here listening to these women, it's incredible. Okay, I just needed a minute.
Well, we know, and this is going to be another question of like, we know the opposition uses our difference to divide us. So how do we build cross-racial solidarity with other organizations across the labor movement to win the future? So I'm going to start with you, Ai-jen.
One thing is that I think we have to, the working class is multiracial. And when we organize, it is up to us to prove that a healthy, vibrant, equitable, multiracial democracy is possible in this country. And so we have to remember that as we're organizing and building this movement, we are building the model for what this country can be. And it takes a lot of work, and the way that in the domestic workers movement, the times that we've collectively felt the most powerful has been when we've been in motion together. Campaigns offer us the context to be in motion together, to learn together, to fight together, and that creates the context to set culture in a way that allows us to build trust and relationship and depth and create anew. And so being in motion, but then also remembering that as we're building, we have to default to grace and to understanding and to patience and to learning and to humility. I think defaulting to grace is so important, just to remember that we are human, we are building a movement of humans, and we will make mistakes. And the only way that we grow is through making those mistakes and showing one another grace as we do so, and building a culture that sees power in that.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that's such an important point we don't talk about enough, because we do have this moment of change in front of us, and we're all grappling with it. And I think the union can be the center of gravity for the conversations that we need to have, and the way we bring people together in unity is such an example for the rest of the country, and you're doing that here in this union. And Dr. King, of course, talked about there is no racial justice without economic justice. They are intertwined. And so us fighting for good jobs to lift everybody up is our purpose. And we need to do that across unions, across industry, across race and ethnicity, across gender, sexual orientation, religion, immigration status. That's who we are. And I love looking at the examples in the South, for example, where the Union of Southern Service Workers are working to build that partnership with community and get those community benefits agreements that we so desperately need when we talk about federal investments, our tax dollars, pouring into corporations, for example, to bring them to a state that has lived under repressive right-to-work laws, and that workers have become accustomed to being left behind. That has to change, and the way we do that is to build this multiracial movement that we all see each other, that what lifts all boats is, us coming together. So what I've been seeing in the South especially, I love these examples of where we're building partnerships, and I look to the auto workers, for example, that we just saw. I mentioned Bluebird workers, where federal investments came pouring into Bluebird, the bus company, and then they were union busting when the workers wanted to organize. You don't get to do that. So we were able to leverage through community partnerships, through our labor movement in the state of Georgia, and allies and supporters, the ability to push back against a corporate union busting culture. And those workers came together, organized their union with the steel workers, and won. It was a 90% black workforce who came together, showed leadership and solidarity, and won. And so I take inspiration from that. I think it's a model, and we're gonna spread that across the entire South and all across this country.
Great. That's great. April.
So first, I just gotta say, look at this stage.
Yes.
Great.
It's a start, you know, it's a start. It is how do we model, how do we in our own organizations model what multiracial solidarity looks like. I think it starts there. And we also cannot let ourselves or our siblings in the labor movement off the hook. We cannot continue to try to turn our eye blind when we see us not working together in solidarity or not creating the type of multiracial leadership that's necessary. I also think it starts with the work, right? Everything, when we get to work, when we roll up our sleeves and we decide to work together, that is when we are at our best. So how are we building campaigns that create the type of multiracial leadership that we want to see, right? How are we investing in multiracial talent? How are our campaigns designed to have outcomes that really underscore the need for racial and economic and immigration and climate and, you know, justice, and that strengthen our democracy? I think, you know, being multiracial and having multiracial leadership we won't win our justice fights if we don't do it. Right. So the campaigns, how we wage them, what we fight for, have to speak to that.
I do think it's an investment.
Mm-hmm.
It is really about where we're investing our attention, our resources, and our energy. And I want to say that the investment in language justice that this convention made is about that kind of investment.
And I just have to add, and you can add more, but this is really incredible to see last year the cross-racial solidarity that was happening during the strikes, during all the disruptions. So we saw janitors in the picket line of auto workers, with actors and writers, with healthcare workers, with all black, brown, white, and immigrant, and native, and indigenous in a so incredible way. So we gotta continue to build on that, and especially the incredible unity that we know is in this place now, and we are so much grateful. So, Liz.
Yeah, and just the last thing I wanted to add is, since we are, 5 months away from an election,
yes,
we cannot let our enemies divide us, and this is, these are the issues they want to divide us on. And I know we've been talking about immigration reform, and that issue in particular is what is being used as a wedge issue to divide people, and we cannot let it happen, because I think we need to, train our attention back to the real enemy, which is, of course, I always say, it's not an immigrant that is taking your job, it's a billionaire that is between you and a good job, right? So let's train our attention on the real enemy here. And I think that's going to be in particular an important thing for us to focus on for the election.
Absolutely, and I can add more on that, but I'm going to go to the next question.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about technology now. So advances in technology like AI or artificial intelligence are making workers feel really anxious. So what can the labor movement do to make sure that we are not just reacting to technology, but shaping technology and how it impacts workers? So I want to just start with, why don't we start with you, Liz, on that question?
Well, and I'm so honored to be in solidarity with all of you, because technology is going to impact every job in our economy. It already is. But this is another example of where partnership is so important for us to be working together to put the guardrails up that we need to protect workers, because we're not going to stop technology, we know that. But we need to be at the table. We need to have a voice and a say in how technology is used. It cannot be used to dehumanize us. It needs to add value. It needs to make our jobs safer. It needs to make our jobs better and more efficient for us. Who are we inventing technology for, other than the humans that should be using it? And so I look at it as our ability to shape it, co-create it, make it a future that actually works for working people, and use collective bargaining as a tool to make technology, again, work for us. And I'll use one quick example in the hospitality industry. We saw it right away where they were trying to automate and they were trying to use technology. You check into your hotel now using your mobile device, right? And the Unite Here union, for example, said, wait a second, we need to use our collective bargaining agreement to put guardrails for workers. So they bargained a 180-day notice period so that they were at the table to help shape. They bargained investments in training so they could upskill and actually get that next new job that was emerging and be the first ones to have access to it. So I think that's an example that we can use in every industry to say, you know what, we're not going to just sit passively by. We're not going to let Scarlett Johansson's voice as an actor be used for ChatGPT without her permission, right? So it's about having a seat at the table and our ability to control it and shape it.
And I would just add to that that we should be asking the question, how does AI help us organize 1 million workers into the union?
Use it for us, right?
How does AI help us end poverty wage work in America? How do we as a movement deploy these tools and build tools that have workers' interests at the center, not profit, but the interests of workers, better pay, more power, better jobs? And we can't do that if we're afraid. We can't do that if we're avoiding the reality of how technology is changing our world, and if we're afraid of what it will do. And I will say that I don't think we need to be afraid of being displaced by these tools, because I haven't met a robot or an AI learning model yet that knows how to help a person with a disability live independently, with dignity, or nurture the human potential of a child, or uphold the dignity of our aging loved ones and make sure that they can live whole lives for as long as possible. We have to stand in the power of the work that we do, and we have to organize the design of the technology of the future to serve us.
That's right. Thank you. Perfect. Yeah, I feel like that was a mic drop.
I know.
You know, I'm gonna let it stay right there.
Wonderful. So we're going to just ask you now one of the big questions. And we're going to start with you, Ai-jen, to begin. Really, in this moment. In this union,
Our union.
in this union,
Our union.
we lean into hope. So what gives you hope for the future?
Well, I was just thinking about how far we've come in the care movement with all the care worker unions and domestic workers, documented and undocumented, all of us organizing and building with parents and family caregivers and people with disabilities and older adults. We've got this beautiful, unstoppable movement for care. 5 years ago, well, let me say this. 2 years ago, there was $1 trillion on the table of investments for care, in child care, in paid leave, in aging and disability care. 5 years ago, there was $0 on the table. We put $1 trillion on the table of investments for our families and our workforce. We came one US Senator short of getting a generational, transformational investment in our workforce, but we didn't let that stop us. We said, are we going to keep going? Yes, we said not only are we going to keep going, we're going to double down, and we're going to fight to win that $1 trillion, and then we're going to make care workers and service workers, just like manufacturing jobs in the 30s and 40s, used to be poverty wage sweatshop jobs that were dangerous, where lots of marginalized workers worked, and we turned those jobs into the biggest on-ramp to the middle class in the history of the world. That is what we, the people in this room and in our movement all over this country, are going to do for care workers and service workers this generation. We are going to transform this country and this economy through our movement. I know we can do it because I've seen the transformation already. And I will say that I can think of no better leader than April Verrett. Woo-hoo! To help service workers rise to this moment of our generational opportunity.
Thank you, Ai-jen. So Liz, what gives you hope?
Well, you all give me hope, and I would just be redundant and say this room has power. This movement has power. And I don't know if you knew this, but my middle name is Hope. It's true, literally. And I travel the country, and I get to march with workers and walk picket lines with workers and see it firsthand, the courage that workers have in this moment. And no matter what industry it is, they're rising up. You got the public supportive of unions like never before. I think it's 71% of the public supports unions. When has that happened? 88%, as we discussed, of young people. And we have workers, you know, whether it's care workers or hospitality workers who've been on strike, auto workers, even cannabis workers, right? I always get a little laugh when I talk about cannabis workers. You know, museum workers, you name it, industries we never thought possible are organizing. So that's what gives me hope, is workers are willing to take risks. They're willing to put it all on the line. And it's up to us to channel that energy and that momentum into unprecedented growth for this labor movement. And it's up to us as leaders to show, again, we are changing. This is not your granddaddy's labor movement, right? And here we are, and we're ready to channel it into unprecedented organizing.
And before I go to you, April, I just want to share what gives me hope, because I want you to just close with that, and as you're being leading us into hope. So what gives me hope is really, I just want to echo what you just said, Liz, is the workers' willingness to take risk, to fight for making a better life for themselves and their families, for our communities, and for a better world for generations to come. But also what gives me hope is what I have seen again and again, workers making the impossible possible. Just by coming together and show the incredible power and resilience and courage and determination to make that change. That's what gives me hope. That's what is my motto, is what keeps me going every single day. So, April.
What gives me hope is this conversation. What gives me hope are the 3 women that are by my side. What gives me hope are the other women leaders in this room. You know, I'm gonna start shouting you out because I can see you. Millie Silva gives me hope. Veronica Turner-Biggs gives me hope. Roxy Nelson gives me hope. Lisa Brown gives me hope. Yvonne Armstrong gives me hope. Kimmy Vaughn gives me hope. Carmen Roberts gives me hope. Roxana Rivera gives me hope. Sterling Carter's gives me hope. Meg Nimi gives me hope. Melissa Unger gives me hope. Meg Nimi gives me hope. Erica Bland gives me hope. Mariceli gives me hope. Jeannie Castrop gives me hope. Pia Morrison gives me hope. Crystal Irving gives me hope. Catherine Hutchinson gives me hope. Lenora Thomas gives me hope. Jessica Stewart gives me hope. Heather Conroy gives me hope. Leslie Frame gives me hope. Mary Kay Henry gives me hope. I get to lead each and every day. And I'm sorry if I missed somebody, but this room is big and I can't see all of you. Charlene Stewart gives me hope. Sylvie Nelson gives me hope. Christina Cabral gives me hope. I said her first. I said that a long time ago.
I love it.
Oh shit, Jane Hopkins gives me all of the hope. Jane Hopkins. Trisha Schroeder. Look, the women of the Pacific Northwest. I'm your fan. I'm your fan.
So let's get it.
SEIU, I dare you. I dare you to find another union that has as many women leaders who step up each and every damn day like we do. You talk about multiracial leadership. It's us. It is us. It is our moment. It is our movement.
All right then. Wow.
Around. Ain't no need to bring down. When this union is around. Oh, 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 oh,
All right. The exit. That was amazing.
Thank you to this inspiring woman. Thank you, thank you.
Amazing job.
They're so
Yeah, we get to.
Yeah.